Why? Is this twice in a row that this is needed? There it is. What happened here? The focus get all knocked out. Hold on. What's up, friends? My name's Aaron Ciotti. My gear never works. Welcome to Spreadsheet Sunday. There we go. That's as close as makes no difference. Welcome. Greetings, cretins. You were just watching 75mm TinyWhoop action with Happy Model 0802 30,000 kV motors. The custom iGauss that I made. Which are here somewhere. I'm going to be putting those back on. Today, just as a side note, today, we are going to take a look at, we're going to review. We talk about this all the time, really. But, you know, I get a question about it, and I answer just kind of that specific question, and I'll give you a little bit more. But we've never just kind of sat down and gone, 0702, what's it for? 0802, what's it for? 0703, what's it for? Previously, we haven't really needed to do that because we've had 0702s, 0802s, 1002s, sort of 1102s as well. But like we've only really had these 3/4 motor sizes up until pretty recently. Pretty recently, we got the VCI 0703s, the VCI 0802.8s. There are some the sub 250 803s. They're only 19,000 kV, so they're really only for 2S, but that counts. And so yeah, we're gonna do that on a spreadsheet here, and we're gonna I'm gonna end up like doubling up some of these lines. What was that? And you're gonna start to see some trends. You know, you're gonna see like as the stator size gets bigger, what happens to like the number of blades on the propeller, stuff like that. Also, we can kind of play around with KV here as well. You know, I didn't put that in here, but I should. All up weight. Let's change this to KV because, like, for example, 40,000 KV 702s. You don't necessarily want to run a tri-blade on those. That's like a bi-blade kind of motor, right? Like all that KV, put a bi-blade on it. All goes well. So, yeah. That's where we're at, friends. That's what we're up to today. Of course, this is a Q&A live stream, as they all are. And Izzy Grinder. Is that a combination of Bot Grinder and Izzy Boop? Izzy Grinder. Nice. I love it. In the chat, FPV Toast was first, Cole Powers was next. Hey, so the air conditioner here is still broken, and so I can't sleep. I can't be comfortable. It's hot as balls in the basement, and so I'm very sleepy. I feel drunk from the heat. It's 83 degrees in this house. It sucks. Schnauzer FPV bad. Anybody whose name comes before bad, it's going to be confusing for that person. Douglas 6, not applicable. Cole Powers, Schnauzer FPV again, half fast. Apache Smoke, Wounded Sniper, Hypnos. What's up, brother? Soap Legend, Minos 133, Freeload Joe Northern Tier, Shins FPV, Captain Calgary, JP Spin, Izzy Grinder, CH3 FPV, Gusto FPV, Night Owl, PUC, Brad Mondin, Gusto again, Night Owl, Bagzilla, AJ FPV. YouTube just did the thing. Where were we? There we go. Yeah, beard hair in my mouth. Freaking Reekin. Yeah, it sucks in here, man. It sucks. It sucks. I can't sleep worth a shit without like at least one sheet on me. Like, I don't know what it is. I think it's. I seriously think it could be like childhood trauma based around like I thought there were monsters in the closet, and then I also thought that like if any part of my body was exposed when I fell asleep, that it would get eaten. So like I could never like hang my feet off the side of the bed really. And so yeah, when it's really hot and you can't sleep without a sheet on you, life sucks. But they're coming Tuesday to I'm sure they'll come on Tuesday and then they'll say the motor is broken, which is what I put into the service request thing. And then they'll go, "All right, we have to go source the motor." So, whatever. I don't know. Maybe they'll be able to fix it. Who the fuck knows? Ava the AM says, "Well, that's a valid fear." I mean, you don't know. I mean, it could happen, right? Like, you're going to sleep. You don't know. You may think you know, but you don't know. It could be. I remember thinking as a kid, like probably as I was getting older, I remember thinking like just like laying in bed, just being like, "You fucking lunatic, relax. There are no monsters." And then like trying to repeat that or whatever, and then that immediately being followed up by, "Well, you don't know. This could be the first..." Literally, I remember the words, "This could be the first time ever." And I mean, could be. What happens when FPV rigs don't work and then we go to sleep and we wake up and we change nothing and they work? Fucking monsters, bro. Monsters. They're waiting. They don't want to show they don't want to play their hand of cards. They're just fucking waiting. They're waiting for me. I'm so special that they're waiting for me. They're waiting for me to let my guard down and then they're going to fucking eat my foot. And yeah, I'm too gangly. I'll look ultra gangly with just one foot, you know? Just a skinny stalk on the other side. Won't be good. I'm so sorry. If you're new around here, I swear to God we talk FPV more than this. In the chat, if you want to talk directly to me and ask me more about my deepest, darkest fears, type CiottiFPV into your message. Spell it right, CiottiFPV, and it'll light up an orange for me. You can do that to each other. If you want to get FreeLojo's attention, in your chat comment, type FreeLojoFPV. And for him, his name will light up an orange. Captain Calgary says you are high. I might look high, I'm just tired. Jesus Christ. CiottiFPV.com is my little website. You can support me in a million different ways over here. Here's the streaming schedule. Patreon, as it says, helps me the most. It'll only cost you $3 a month. That's 10 cents a day, my friends, and it's the only way that I can do this full time and do as good of a job with it as I do. Help a brother out. Etsy's got some fun stuff you can buy. So does Teespring. Over on Fiverr, you can work one-on-one with me if you want to go from being like, you know, having the knowledge of somebody that's 8 months in the hobby to 12 months in the hobby in about a half an hour. This is how you do it. Every single question that you've got and questions that you didn't even know that you had, I can help you out with. The three main ways are flight instruction, tuning, and build planning. Stop buying stuff that catches on fire and or performs like shit. I've done that for you. I can help you. If you spend $40 on a half an hour session with me for build planning, I guarantee you there will be at least one thing that I tell you sucks that you don't buy, and that will pretty much pay for the session, depending on what it is. And I got a whole bunch of affiliate links, yo. Use someone's affiliate links, my friend. Change your bookmarks, change your URL bar suggestions when you just start typing Amazon and it suggests something and you just hit enter. You can change this. Off on the right of your URL bar suggestion is a button, or if you right-click it, you can remove that suggestion. So remove all your suggestions for these websites and then click my affiliate links a couple times, just like, you know, open them up in new tabs, right? and your browser will think that when you type AMA, you actually want to go to my affiliate link, or PYR, you actually want to go to my Pyrodrone affiliate link, etc., etc., etc. So there you go. Tons of affiliate links, my friends. It's free money. It doesn't affect you in any way, and it helps us make more good content. Amazon, Get FPV, Pyrodrone, Race Day Quads, Newbie Drone, Weebleed, Beta FPV, FPV Cycle, Oh My God, Brain 3D, HD Zero, Flywoo, Emacs, Banggood, Camera Butter, AliExpress. There you go. That's how you support me, friends. Bunch of other fun stuff down here. Cool. To the spreadsheet. No, not yet. Let's get caught up on chat. Apache Smoke Wound Sniper says, "Hey, CiottiFPV and Gangly Gang, how are you doing today? I'm good, my friend. Better now that I'm hanging out with you beautiful bastards." CH3 says, "What's up?" Gangly Gang and new fellas. Gusto FPV says, let's rock this stream. Puck says, "Have you ever had a USB port fall off of a 2G4? Unfortunately, so. Just happened to my brand new Mobula 6. That blows. But, I mean, if it's brand new, then just contact whoever you bought it from and say, yo, you need to send me another one. This is bullshit." Night Owl says, "Maybe you have already reacted, but what did you think about Rosser's video on TinyWhoop motors?" I did. I was live streaming, like, that night. And, like, I love Chris. Chris reached out to me, like, a month and a half, almost 2 months ago, and said he was going to be doing that. And he wanted to schedule a phone call to kind of talk about shit. We kept missing each other. So eventually I just said to hell with it, and I just dumped a massive wall of text on him. And I went over a lot of what we've learned in, like, the last year. There was a lot of really good info in there. And I didn't hear back. And I just assumed that, like, he read it and then got too busy to respond or whatever, which is fine. But then, like, there was nothing... There was really, I don't think he read it. I think it got pushed down in his messages, or maybe it was just overwhelming and it was just too much. Because yeah, there was a lot of sort of missed opportunities, things to bring up in that video that that we went over and that we've tested and shown to be 99% accurate. So that was a little bit disappointing, but I'm sure he gets absolutely hammered by messages. And so I get it. It's all good. I think that video was a good starting point. And I think that there are some motors in there that are good for 75mm rigs. There aren't many motors in there. There's only maybe like 2 or 3 motors in there that make sense for 65mm TinyWhoops. So, like, I wish the name of the video was different. I wish the name of the video was more like 75mm whoops and a few 65mm whoop motor suggestions. But, you know, this is my world, right? Chris is doing all of FPV, frame design, lots and lots and lots of stuff. And so, you know, he can take this percentage of all that he's doing and devote it to TinyWhoops. For me, the majority of this is TinyWhoop, and then the little piece is kind of like everything else. So easy for me to say, right? Because I live and breathe this shit. But yeah, the data that he got validated some stuff. But unfortunately, there just weren't enough current motors. A lot of these motors were like old. A lot of the motors were discontinued. You can't even get them anymore. And so yeah, it doesn't tell us a whole lot about like the current generation of motors that most of us are running, unfortunately. But hopefully there will be a part 2 of that video. I know that a bunch of people are sending him the much more current motor set, motors that are available, and so yeah, we'll see. I'm very hopeful that version 2, part 2 of that video gets made, and I think what he's going to be forced to deal with in part 2 of the video is that these really high kV motors on the test stand don't make extra thrust. They can't wind up to the higher RPMs that they're wound for. And that's a lot. There's like maybe 2 big beefy paragraphs in those messages that I said I'm talking about that and talking about what we've learned with unloaded and loaded motors, and that, you know, with TinyWhoops We have the least efficient sized propellers, right? The smaller the propeller, the least efficient it is. So TinyWhoops are in the worst scenario possible because they have the smallest of the propellers. And so the KVs have really been pushed kind of beyond the normal limits. And the reason that we can do that is that in flight, in the air, when the motors can unload and get some incoming air, it changes things, and it allows a motor that on a thrust stand in a static environment tied down to a desk won't show more performance, but in the air it very obviously does. And so, hopefully that gets talked about. Hopefully, if there's a part 2 of the video, it's not, hey, look, all of these higher than 30,000 kV motors are worthless because they don't make more thrust on my thrust stand. The end. I will be kind of pissed if that's what this next video is, because it's just, obviously not true. Anybody that's flown the 40,000 kV 0702s will instantly tell you, yes, they've got way more power. So yeah, should be super interesting. Hopefully we get, I super wishful thinking, but I really hope that he dives into that and talks about and maybe thinks about some sort of a wind tunnel-ish, or at least just a secondary fan in front of the thrust stand to give some incoming air. That would be so cool and if there's anybody that can do it and like figure out some of the maths behind it, it's Chris, right? Like I would have absolutely no idea where to start with that. And so yeah, that would be amazing. That's asking a lot, but hey, if you don't ask, you ain't gonna get it. That's what she said. Night Owl FPV says, nope, we got that. Bagzilla says, what's up, friends? What's up? CiottiFPV. Brad Mondin says, 7 minutes and 50 seconds flight time on my 3.5 4S 850. High-speed cruising and medium ripping. That's crazy runtime. Those are great batteries, though. The 4S 850s are some of my favorite batteries in all of FPV. Freaking Regan says, it's humid AF in Georgia. My air was out for a day and it was miserable. Yep, that's been my life for 3 days. Brutal. CH3FPV says, my brother just moved to Atlanta. I might come and see him. Maybe we can rip together or even stream, LOL. Let me know when you'll be in town. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. I'm around-ish. Life is a little crazy right now with the kids back in school. Azalea's in high school. Maggie's doctorate program shit is in absolutely full swing. So, like, no promises. But, yeah, I always try to make time for folks that are in town. Show you a couple of cool spots. Izzy Grinder says, what's up, Ciotti? Thanks for my Micro King sticker I got for Christmas 2022. Old school. Hell yeah. Brent Anderson says, I saw a 1002, only 9 poles. No shit. Well, it's not about the stator poles. It's about the magnets. Right? Keep that in mind. Even though, like, in Betaflight, I think it says stator poles, it actually means magnets. And if you roll over the question mark, it'll say, like, hey, to set this number, count the number of magnets in the bell. I've not really paid much attention, though, to how many stator poles there are. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's 9. It looks like there's 9 on all these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 stator poles is correct. But yeah, it's the number of magnets. 12 magnets versus 14 magnets is what you're dialing in Betaflight in the motors tab. That's an easy thing to confuse. Rockcrawler says, hey. YouTube's just doing the thing over and over again today, so I'm just constantly scrolling up and down in the chat to try to find my fucking place. Come on, YouTube. Bad says, Schnauzer bad. Sounds like you're telling off Teddy. Brad Munden says, I don't know if Jonathan Allen was talking to you, but he didn't tag you. Jonathan Allen. What'd you say, Jonathan Allen? He says, what would happen if I used an X12 board in a Beta 75 2S frame? First and foremost, it won't fit. The Happy Model X12 board is oversized, and the only Whoop frame that it fits in is the Mobula 7 V4. So yeah, right off the bat, that won't work. But let's see if I can help out with anything in the rest of the question. Betaflight 75X 2S frame with 1103. So 1103 motors are all going to be 4-bolt, and you're going to have a really hard time finding a TinyWhoop frame that's set up for 4-bolt motors. 11,000 kV, that's also super low. Betaflight motors with 40 millimeter bi-blades. Yeah, so Jonathan, there's all kinds of stuff wrong. There's all kinds of stuff that won't work here. X12 board won't fit, period. End of discussion. If you do manage to get a board that will fit, there are boards that work with 2S. The next problem you're going to run into is 1103s are all 4-bolt. The next problem you're going to run into is 11,000 kV is nowhere near high enough for 40 millimeter bi-blades, even on 2S. You need to be up like 14,000, 15,000 at like a minimum for like really good power. Also 1103, as we're going to talk about in a little bit here on this spreadsheet, 1103 is going to be too big of a motor for 40 millimeter bi-blades. 1102 is too big of a motor for 40 millimeter bi-blades. And so, yeah, there's all kinds of things that are kind of mismatching there. Although I think that there is, there is. There is a 75 millimeter frame. It's around here somewhere. There is a 75 millimeter frame that does have 4-bolt motor mounting. Actually, the 75X 1S for a bunch of the Meteor 75 frames have both 3-bolt and 4-bolt motor mounting. This is one of them that has both 3 and 4-bolt motor mounting. But here's the deal. Every single 4-bolt motor that I've ever seen is not a high enough kV. So, yeah, using a 4-bolt motor, you're not going to have enough RPM for the smaller propellers. Those motors are for like 2-inch rigs and up, basically. Because then you're getting to a propeller size that's big enough that the lower kV will still make good power. So, yeah, bunch of different things going on there. If you already have, depending on what of that stuff you already have, that's going to, yeah. Like if you already have the X12 board, you can shift over to the Meteor 7 V4 frame. It will actually fit in there. If you want to stay on 2S, as long as you run the TinyWhoop 2S 300 mAh batteries on the Mobula 7 V4 frame, you can cut out those thin little bastards that you see there. See the little thin guys? Not the top support, but the little thin bastards. You can cut those thin guys out, and a 2S 300 mAh battery will fit. The problem's going to be the USB port. The USB port is going to get in the way. So now you've got to look for AIOs that have... well, it depends. If you're going to be building analog, you might be able to run rubber grommets that push the AIO up enough to clear the USB port from the battery. Or there are AIOs like the Betaflight 1 to 2S that I did on the 2S Walksnail build that don't have the USB port down here, and then you got room for the battery. So yeah, there's a couple of solutions there for you. Offexis says that's those dabs. Jesus. Izzy Grinder tagged me, but didn't say anything other than gang gang. Jonathan Allen says, what would happen? Oh no, we got that. Hey, he tagged me that time. Nice. You got it. You got it that time, Jonathan Allen. Good shit. Daniel1964 says, Pyrodrone has the original Mobula 6 ELRS AIOs. There you guys go. Get it. Get it. Get you some. Izzy Grinder. Is that you, Izzy Boop? Is that you, Bot Grinder? Is it another person? Who are you? Weebleed's in the house. What's up, homie? YouTube did the thing again. I'm gonna... Izzy Grinder says, nope, it's gelato. What? What's gelato? Zoe101 says, I don't understand why Chris Rosser tests so many things that no one uses. It's because he's in Europe, and it's really hard to get stuff in Europe. They're not as lucky as us here in the US. They don't have RDQ, they don't have Pyrodrone, they don't have Newbie Drone, they don't have GetFPV. So yeah, it's harder to get stuff over there is the main reason. But yeah. Thanks for saying it. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Striker says, want to rip outside, but it's been raining because Florida, 95 degrees, Jesus. Zoe101 says, any clever ideas for getting a battery to sit still? The Beta FPV lavas are slightly skinnier than normal, and they're a tiny bit loose in the battery tread, and Carker's light AF, also V3. Yep. E6000 is your friend. The Mobula 7 V4 frames are a great example of this. The 450 batteries just don't fit all that well. So what I do is I use E6000 to close it down, right? You see how it makes the battery bay a little bit more narrow in the corners. But what's really cool is these little supports break here. So this is also like beefing up that little support there in hopes that it won't break as easily. But it's also making the battery fit better. I do this on all the Mobula 7 V4 frames at this point, and it works really, really well. So yeah, E6000 is your friend. When E6000 cures after 24 hours, it's got like a nice rubbery texture's not the word. It's rubbery. There you go. And yeah, it'll keep your batteries from sliding out or moving around or whatever. So yeah, beef that shit up with E6000. There you go. Not Applicable says, could you pick a static wind speed? Wind speed. Oh, Jesus. Could you pick a static wind speed and test the motors at that constant? Totally. This is asking about like setting up some sort of a wind tunnel. You certainly could. That would be the easiest way to do it, right? Take a fucking gangly fan and stand it up on its side and put it in front of the thrust stand, right? Like anything to get the air moving a little bit. You could you could absolutely do that. It opens the question: how fast is that incoming wind speed? And it doesn't represent what necessarily happens in the real world. Here's something. Here's why YouTube comments are great. We've been talking about this: loaded versus unloaded. In the air, the rigs are unloaded. You hammer the throttle, they start accelerating, which creates incoming air. On the thrust stand, they're loaded. They have to take static, not moving air and pull it in and then push it out. And that's a way harder environment. In a YouTube comment, though, somebody said, I'm more looking for performance at the bottom of dives. And at the bottom of dives, a static thrust test is really close to what's happening. That is absolutely true. What we've talked about here before is that when you're hovering and you hammer full throttle, there's a split second where that thrust stand result is exactly right before it starts to move, right? As soon as you hammer full throttle and it makes full thrust and it has just begun to move, it's got all this static air above, it's got to pull it all down and push it all out. Just for that split second. Immediately it starts moving, and as soon as it starts moving, it's creating its own incoming air, which reduces the amount of work that the motors have to do and lets the motors spin up higher. At the bottom of a dive, right, you're coming down, you got like, it's a TinyWhoop, right? So, I don't know, 15 miles an hour of fall speed, maybe, if that. At the bottom of the dive, you're going to pitch forward and you're going to hammer the throttle. And it's got all this momentum coming down that it has to eat before it then starts to move forward. So for a quarter of a second or an eighth of a second, because it happens quick, right? Like now that we have powerful motors, the bottom of a dive is whoop. I mean, it's out and it's immediately creating, not immediately, but it's very quickly creating that incoming air again. But that is very true. It is more than just an instant only when you're hovering. It does happen at the bottom of dives. That being said, the argument there is that, well, thrust stands... All right, to take a step back, one of the reasons why motors over 30,000 kV, TinyWhoop motors over 30,000 kV were not made for a long time, was that on the thrust stand, they don't really make more thrust. We've seen this by reading the RPMs and holding on to them. And it's because the smaller stators, they're just not grunty enough with those higher kV numbers. And so the argument there is that, well, that is going to happen at the bottom of a dive then. So I'm not going to go above 30,000 kV on my TinyWhoop motors because all I care about is the bottom of the dive. A, that's silly to only care about the bottom of the dive. That's silly. B, the higher kV motors up to 40,000 kV absolutely make getting out of a dive easier. Anybody that's flown the 40,000s knows it. At the bottom of a dive, it doesn't matter how big of a dive you've just done, you go full throttle and then chop the throttle as quickly as your little fingies can fucking do it with those 40,000 kV motors, and it stays off the ground. Like, and none of the other motors are like that. Like, the other motors, you have to give a little bit more full throttle. So, like, even in that, like, kind of worst case scenario, the higher kV motors are still absolutely worth it, and they absolutely make more power. And that's hard to test, right? And so I don't know what the answer was. I'll be honest, I was extremely excited for that Rosser video because I thought, hey, with the info that I sent him and with how obvious it is with the crazy KVs, I'm like, he's gonna figure it out. He's gonna figure out how to show like loaded versus unloaded. This is gonna be great. If there's anybody that can figure out the best right way of doing that, it's gonna be Chris. This is gonna be awesome. And then when it wasn't like even discussed, I was like, oh. But none of the motors that he tested were really high enough in KV. Hopefully in this if there's a part 2 of the video, he will have a whole bunch of really high KV motors because that's what I know people are sending to him. And he won't, unless somehow on his thrust stand they do make more power. But yeah, I think he will have to be faced with that. And yeah, hopefully it's not just these motors don't make more power, don't buy them, because that would be absolutely infuriating. Because they absolutely do make more power in the air. Doubles FPV says, what length ORT Micro Vee antennas do you use for 65 and 75? The shortest possible length that they make. I believe it's 50 millimeters. The ORT antennas are a little bit too long. They're long enough that if you just run the cord out, the head of the antenna can actually get jammed up in between the propellers and the ducts. So I've been playing around with different ways to like stuff the antenna down into the canopy like this to keep it out of the propellers. It doesn't happen often. It's pretty rare that it gets down into the props, but I don't want that ever to happen because, you know, if it happens when I've crashed on a rooftop or something like that, I'm not getting that whoop back. So yeah, you want the shortest ORT antenna length, which I'm pretty sure is 50 millimeters. The ORT Micro Vee antennas are my favorite. They're the most durable. They're the lightest. They're like the best of all worlds. They're not the lightest, but for something that's durable and that works well, they're the lightest. Striker says, any easy Betaflight things that I might have forgotten about to make my quad fly better? I feel like my PIDs are almost optimized. 1.35 D gain, one blah blah blah. But still some prop wash. Striker, I think you're on the new. Are you in your first year? Don't worry about the PID tune. Just fly. Just focus on flying. I mean, PID tuning is pretty straightforward. Just keep pushing the numbers up until the motors get hot or the rig starts telling you that it's upset, and then back them off a little bit. So yeah, that's your best bet. Doubles FPV said, oh no, we got that. Not Optical says, could you pick a? Oh no, we got that. FPV Toast says, the Happy Model EX 1103 11,000s are 3-bolt. No shit. Huh. That's a shame they're too low of a KV. That 11,000 KV, I mean, that's kind of worthless until you get up to like a 2-inch prop, or if you were to go 3S. I did not know that they are 3-bolt. Thanks for letting me know. That's very cool. Shins FPV says, what is the best Ajo foe? I don't know what that means. Flying Carrot says, does a 5-in-1 board do away with the need for a VTX? Was trying to figure out where the extra one comes from. I don't know, dude. I have the same question. Where has this 5-in-1 designation come from? I don't like. I don't know. What's the 4? Is the 4 the 4 channels of the ESC? How the fuck would that make sense? What does this mean? 5-in-1? Like, is it like flight controller, ESC, VTX, receiver? What's the 5th? What the hell? Like, what is this 5-in-1? Where does the fuck does that come from? What does it mean? I think what it means on so the Beta FPV 65 Air comes with a 4-in-1 AIO that has an ESC, a flight controller, a VTX in it. That's it. That's 3. I don't know where the 4 is coming from, which makes me think that what they're saying is that it's a 4-channel AIO. Channel 1, 2, 3, and 4. Motor 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're going to be coming out with an AIO that they're calling a 5-in-1, and it has the receiver built in. So it has flight controller, ESC, receiver, VTX. 1, 2, 3, 4. Huh. That's not 5. I don't get it. I have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. Cactus says, brother, I'm in love with whoops. Thanks a lot. I now have twice as many drones, lol. Whoops are fun like that, man. It's they're so much cheaper and easier to build. So you can like double your drone collection cheaply. Weebleed says Teflon tape 331. What were we talking about at 331? Teflon tape. Teflon tape is wonderful, underused stuff. What the hell were we talking about? Abraham says VHB tape them in. Oh, the batteries. Oh yeah, you could run Teflon tape is awful thin though. I have a bunch of batteries that I've wrapped that like felt Emax or hockey stick tape on just to beef them up a little bit. Sometimes I'll use electric tape. So yeah, I would think Teflon tape would be a little bit too thin, but it is really lightweight. Teflon tape I think would also bunch up when you're putting it into the battery bay, but maybe not. If you can put a bunch of force on Teflon tape and wrap it so it like becomes one with the thing that you're wrapping it around. Kilo Zebra says, no, Izzy Grinder is someone who was banned from Bot Grinder's community for stalking Izzy. Well, that... can I get a confirmation of that? And they will be banned from this channel as well, because that's not fucking cool. If somebody wants to private message me and confirm that. Yeah, let me know. That is incredibly not cool. Alright, I'm caught up on... Nope. Levster says, I have on my camera settings in the goggles color, contrast, sharpness, but my video is so blurry. Can you help? What should I set? All is from 0 to 100 sharpness. Don't mess with those settings. Put those settings in the middle. If you've got the settings in the goggles like that, if you've got 0 to 100, just put them to 50. And then if you've got any weird blurriness, it has nothing to do with the goggles. It's the camera. So then you can play around with the camera at that point. But yeah, there's technically speaking, the sharpness might help things, but typically it's just going to over sharpen. And the camera should not be blurry. You should not need to use goggle settings to fix a blurry camera. If the camera is blurry, it's going to be blurry and you need to fix the blurry camera. Screwing around with the goggle settings is like putting a band-aid on a head wound, right? Like fix the head wound rather than putting a band-aid on it. It's just going to get saturated in blood and, you know. Daniel1964 says, putting Weebleed 40,000s on a 65mm, what prop would you recommend? We're going to talk about that in a bunch, in a bit, a bunch. 1210 Bi-Blade, though, is the answer. Cole Power says, 5-in-1 should be an extra ESC channel, right? You can remap for when you inevitably... for when you inevitably burn out a set of FETs. Now we're fucking talking. Now we're talking. Shit. Not applicable says, okay. Flight controller, ESC, OSD, receiver, VTX. Fair enough. The OSD chip is massive on the AIO. So yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Good call. Good call, not applicable. Striker says, currently flying just a whip antenna. How much weight do you save going to a monopole? How much range do you lose? No idea how much range you lose. Monopole? What do you mean monopole? Without the ground plane? I think it's 0.4. I think it's 0.4 of a gram when you remove the little jib jab. Before long, you'll have 1,000 of those whip antennas, though, so just do the mod. Take the shrink wrap off, and take the ground plane off, and then, yeah, you'll have one that's ultra lightweight. Freeledger says, is there a 3D print for an adapter to go from 450 to 300? What a good question. What a good goddamn question. I have these old school little foam pieces that'll do it, but... I immediately went to Thingiverse, but here's going to be the problem. It's going to be heavy, man. 450, 300 adapter. Yeah, so it looks like it does exist. Oh, fuck you. Yeah, so it looks like it does exist. You're going to want to print this with, like... the minimum infill minimum, or I don't know, whatever. Yeah, when you print this, try to make it as light as possible, because TPU is heavy. But yeah, looks like it does exist. Not surprising. Way to go, Thingiverse. Cactus says, one of the new whoops I built is a Fractal 65 with BLV4 Crossfire, Flow 0802 27,000 kV motors. My flight time is hardly 2 minutes on 380 mAh. What gives? Too heavy? Around 25 to 26 grams. You've got a couple of things going on there, Cactus. The all-up weight is definitely too high. Yeah, the carbon fiber frames add too much weight, and unfortunately, they don't really solve any problems. So the all-up weight is definitely too high. Getting it off of the carbon fiber frame is going to help that quite a bit. The other problem is that the carbon fiber frames add a significant amount of additional, like, obstruction to the airflow, basically, right? Like, if you look at the bottom, and it actually makes a really big difference. You really, there's a significant difference in removing obstructions above or below the propeller. And so when you look at, like, plastic frames, you'll see that you've got, like, 1, 2, 3 very thin, tall but not wide supports for the airflow to blow through, right? And that's what you want. You don't want, you want the support to be like this rather than like this, because like this, you're blowing air past it and the air is just going to cleanly split it. When it's like this, the air hits it and tumbles and does all kinds of awful shit. So yeah, you've got both of those things working against you. As an example, when I first started chasing the RC drift cars, I did a bunch of fractal builds. And I was getting about, on the analog builds, I was getting like 2 minutes and 40 to 2 minutes and 50 seconds of runtime. When Timmons then helped me create this, what I call the batwing mount, so that I can run a regular old plastic frame but have no props in view. The other thing that's really cool about this mount is that the camera doesn't move all over the place. One of my least favorite things about those fractal frames is that ridiculous camera mount setup. The camera can rotate, and it does rotate in there. It would be flying weird. I would come back and I would look at it and the camera would be like this. Okay, let me just fix that. All right, great. And then you fly out and you bump into something and the camera goes the other way. And it's really hard to fly when the camera is like this, right? Like, next time you're driving, get in your car and just turn your head and look out the side window and just try to drive like this. Try to drive your car like this. You'll run into everyone. Don't do it in a populated area. You'll kill someone. And I don't want you to have to live with that. But it's a nightmare. Like, having the camera go, like, in this direction, go off left and right, really wrecks your ability to fly. The other thing is that it rotates like this as well. And so I would come back and it would be like this. And I'm like, well, that makes sense. I was trying to fly flat and level, but I'm sliding the whole damn time. I'm like, what the hell's going on with this? It's because, yeah, that camera mount is just not good. And so, yeah, when I moved over to this batwing mount, not only did I start flying better because the camera can't go anywhere, it's actually solidly mounted, but the now lack of obstruction in thrust, I got an extra minute of flight time. This, not this one, this is the Walksnail one, but the analog versions of these, I can now get 4 minutes of flight time. It really makes a big difference. It's also blocking thrust, like it's all bad. And so, yeah, 4 TinyWhoops. I mean, like, look, if we could build a 5-inch frame with a plastic frame, a molded plastic frame that had this little obstruction to the airflow, that would be amazing. Plastic is not the right material for that, though. For TinyWhoops, plastic is obviously the right material. Like, 99% of TinyWhoops are in plastic frames, and they absolutely rip. If TinyWhoops were in a scenario where we couldn't get our tunes aggressive enough, that would be the reason to go to a carbon fiber frame. But that's not the case at all. TinyWhoops are very easy to tune because the motors spin at crazy high RPMs, and in those crazy high RPMs, we get a lot of filtering in Betaflight for very little CPU time. And so TinyWhoops are in a scenario where plastic frames are obviously the right choice. The carbon fiber frame thing, it doesn't help anything. It hurts a bunch of things. And, like, I get it. I fell for it too, right? Like, I was all about the carbon fiber frame thing. I did many, many, many fractal builds, and I was constantly disappointed with the flight time, the amount of power, the camera moving all over the place. But like, I'm a stubborn bastard, and I just kept going and going and going and going. And then eventually, like, I had to face the facts, and yeah, kind of is what it is. So get it out of that frame, and all right, Izzy's starting to piss me off in the chat. Izzy, you can either calm down or you can be out of here. But don't call people in the chat jealous poor saps. Just chill. Cool? Oh, yeah, and it looks like a moderator already had to deal with it. Yeah, this is your final warning, Izzy. You might be gone anyway. If somebody is messaging me that you were being a douchebag with Izzy Boop, then you're gone forever regardless. But, like, for this live stream right now, like, you got 2.5 strikes. By the way, Cloudhopper in chat has a 2G4 build all the way down to 16.7 grams. So 2G4 AIOs can get down below 17 grams. He's done a lot to do that, but yeah. It is possible, which is awesome. All right. Cactus says, thank you for the insight. Didn't think about that. That's what I'm here for, brother. Cactus says, my next question is, where do I get that mount? My Discord, and then there's a 3D printing text channel, and it's in there. Timmons has put it in there. Skull901 says, Skull, make sure you put FPV after Ciotti so I can actually see it. Where do I get the ultra short True RC? Don't. The ultra short True RC, it only really works on rigs that you're gonna fly low to the ground. If you're like the drift car chasing rigs, if you're building a drift car chasing rig, sure, it's all good. But for anything else, for anything that you're gonna fly freestyle, don't get the ultra short True RC. Get the Micro Vee. Getting the head of the antenna away from your AIO is really important if you're going to be doing this with it. If you're just going to be flying down low to the ground and you're just going to be doing this, the ultra short is fine. But for freestyle, it's usually, most people don't just fly like that. So probably don't get it. As much as I love that antenna, having the head of your antenna right next to the AIO, as soon as you fly up above yourself, causes issues. So yeah. Maybe don't get a True RC Ultra Short. All right. Here we go. Spreadsheet time, my friends. So let's start. What? Above? Yeah, that's fine. So let's start diving in here. I want to go KV here. I want to go prop here. Plop here. So we're gonna do ranges. The motors we don't need to do ranges on, but the KV we're gonna do ranges on. So let's say 25 to 30K. 25K. Well, now let's go all the way down to 20. 20 to 30,000. And then we're going to go 30K to 40K. 20,000 to 30,000. 702 motor. Small. Wait, here. Hold on. I wanted to do this as well. Stator volume calculator. Here, this is genius. Put a bookmark. Put a bookmark to that. You're going to love that. You're going to love my nuts. 0702. Add. 0802, add. 0703. I think I'm doing these in the right order. 0803. That one might be out of order. 1002. Nope, we're good. Yep. And then 1102. That's all of our, realistically, that's all of our motor sizes. And so that's from lowest stator volume to highest, and that's what we're doing here. Same kind of thing. So 702 motor, small motor, realistically only going to pair well with 1.2 inch propellers. Not a high enough KV to really take advantage of the Gemfan 1210 biblades. So the propeller options are going to be tri-blades, and it's going to be the 1219S from GemFan and HQ YOLO. Uh, 702 motor from between 30 and 40,000 kV. You can certainly still do these tri-blades, but I really like the 1210. Let's get GF in here. GF for GemFan. All right. GF 1210. There you go. There's some... How can I handle... Hold on. There's some... There's a little bit of wiggle room there. I mean, like, you can run... I know what to do. I know what to do. I know what to do. So, we're going to go... Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to say 28,000 to 32,000. 1219S slash 1210 and HQ YOLO. Why do I keep putting the extra Y in? See what I'm doing? 702, 32K to 40K. GemFan 1210. There you go. See what I mean? Hold on. 19S. There we go. That's a little bit better. Right? You get it? Get what I'm going for here? And now I can open this guy up. And I mean, you could... Yeah. No. Yeah, right. I don't even need to have overlap. There it is. That's what I want to do. Yep. So this way I don't have to have overlap because I'm handling the overlap in the propellers. You guys still with me? Everybody still getting it? All up weight. I don't really need an all up weight column at this point, but let's just say, well, yeah, I do. Yeah. No, the all up weight column actually really works. That is cool. All right. Yeah, that'll work. All right. I've run out of patience. Ah, gotcha. Thank you for that, Freelo Joe. That makes it easy. That makes it easy. All right, cool. We good now. Thank you, guys. Oh my God, flying carrot. Jesus Christ. Wow. Okay. All right. Back on track. So, yeah, 702s with these lower KVs, even though you can start to get power out of these lower KV 702s with these, specifically with these GemFan 1219Ss, I'm going to cap the all-up weight at, let's say 16 to 19. I'm gonna be fairly strict with these numbers. I'll open this up to 20. 702, 28,000 kV to 32,000 kV. I'm gonna say. Let's say. I don't want to change the bottom of the all-up weight, So let's say 16 to 20. Oh, I can wrap the... Oh, yeah. I can wrap the Walksnail builds into this. Cool. Okay. 20, 2. Yeah. Okay, so if I wrap the Walksnail builds into this, what's the Walksnail 65 weigh? Whoa, 25.3 grams. I didn't realize it was quite that heavy. So, like for this third one, for example, I'm going to come back to that second one, but this third one, for example, I'm going to say 17 to 25. All right, because these are really powerful motors. And this propeller makes good jam as well. You can obviously go outside of these ranges, but if you stay inside these ranges, you're going to have the best performance. And this way I'm wrapping in the Walksnail setup. I would not want a Walksnail build on 28,000 kV up to 32,000 kV 702s. It's just not enough power. So I'm going to leave this bracket here at 16 to 22. I would also not want a 40,000 kV rig on a 16 gram build. So I'm going to leave the bottom of this at 17 grams, and then the top is up at 25 to cover the Walksnail builds, because with a 40,000 kV 702 on a Gemfan 1210, it'll carry around 25 grams. The Walksnail rig, you guys have seen me blast it around. It's awesome. So yeah, this is pretty dialed, and that's sort of the thought process here, is that these are the most important things for getting a build that flies good. Motor needs to be big enough, KV needs to be high enough, it has to have the right propeller to suit the motor and the KV of the motor, and then your all-up weight has to be in the range of possibilities, right? So if you nail these 4 things down, your rig will fly awesome. And for example, some of the best flying rigs that I've got are at 16 point something grams with Gemfan 1219s or HQ YOLOs at 28,000 kV on a 702. The best flying 65 millimeter Walksnail build that I've been able to build, and this is after, literally years of testing, is what this is based in. The best flying Walksnail rig that I have is on 702 40,000s Gemfan 1210s at 25.3 grams all up weight, right? I also have a analog 702 32,000 kV HQ YOLO propped 18 gram all up rig that flies amazing, right? So these are giving you like the ballparks that you want to be within here, and just understand that this 25 is here because of Walksnail. You should not have an analog rig at 25 grams. There are parts that are very inexpensive that will bring the weight of an analog rig down below 20 grams pretty easily. Cool. All right, let's beef up the 802 section. So 802 is now going to start to get into a world of both 1.6 inch props and 1.2 inch props. Not applicable says live stream live a 2G4 for your viewing pleasure. What the hell does that mean? Let's see. Let's see what it means. Stop it. Don't be mean to Chris. Look, I wouldn't want somebody to do that to me. Stop it. Don't do that. I don't see it. I don't see anything in live stream live. Stop it. I'm sorry. That's such, like, it happens to me. It happens to all of us all the time, right? Like, the faces that we make. I guess it doesn't happen to you guys very much, but when So when Apache Smoke Wounded Sniper puts up the time codes, I then open. So every single time after I live stream, I reopen my live stream at some point. And I swear to God, it's like 9 times out of 10 that sometimes it'll go like in the middle or whatever. 9 times out of 10 when I pause it, the fucking face that I'm making is absolutely insane. And so like it happens all the time. And the other day when I had Rosser's video up, I just happened to have paused it when he was making like a super stoner face. And somebody called it out in the chat, and I felt bad. And now Kevin Summers is immortalizing it. It's like mortifying. It's Flying Carrot says, I sent the clip from bot stream to you addressing the situation. It's all good. I trust you guys. Disabled Combat Android says, am I misunderstanding all up weight? I don't know, are you? Oh, shit! Not all up weight. Fuck, thank you. Jesus, not all up weight. Dry weight. Dry weight. Thank you, Jesus. Dry weight. Sorry. You guys know what I meant. You guys knew what I meant. No, thank you for that. Seriously. I told you I was sleepy. Can I get a where's the center? How do I center it? Center, you bastard. There it is. Yeah, that looks better. Okay. Wait. Oh no. No. Oh, I didn't want to center everything. I just wanted to center the heading. It's fine. Thank you for that. 802s. Oh. I still don't see it. I don't see any posts from Spaceman in live stream live. Oh, there we go. Oh, I see what you did there. 14.8. What the hell? Good lord. A TinyWhoop at 14.8 grams. Good lord. What's the type the setup into the chat for everyone to benefit from? Damn, dude. That yeah, I can see that possibly actually being too late. Okay. 802s. We need to start on the low end, and I need to actually look at my RPM testing that I did to see what the low end of 802s really is. 19,000 kV? Is that where we want to bottom it out? Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. So 19K. Okay, so 802s are going to be interesting. 19,000 kV. Hold on, let me just think about this for a second. 19,000 kV. Let's say 19 to 25. Here's going to be the problem. The propeller. No 1.2 inch propellers are going to... There are no really good 1.2 inch props for motors that are this low of a kV. I also want to get 45 millimeter props on here. The HQ ultralight 45s have really impressed the hell out of me. Let me do this. Hold on. Let me start filling stuff in. Just to HQ 45 by 2/3. 1002. 22K. One of the problems is we don't have a lot of different KV options here. But 1002, we're going to say 1610. 803. 803, we're actually going to come back to. I think. I'm getting so many text messages. Okay. And then, so the highest on the 802s is 33,000. So but there are no, you can't necessarily buy them, but we're going to do it anyway. 1208 GF 1208, because it's the only propeller. I'm also going to limit, like, I'm going to limit, oh, wait, no. Yeah, no. GemFan 1208 / 1210. Yeah, that's what I want. 1210 is the biblade. 1208 is the triblade. Okay. And then, so then the gap is 25K to 30K. All right, we're going to get to the dry weights in a minute. All right, so we need, for these lower KV 802s, we need a big, beefy propeller. 1610, I mean, the 1610 is a great propeller, but we're just not giving it enough, quite enough KV. 25,000 though, yeah. At 25,000 KV, the 1610s do kind of come alive enough. So yeah, that works. GemFan 1610. But is there any other propeller that we want to put in here? GemFan 1610. So we're talking about an 802. I'm very tempted to put the 45mm propellers on here, but I have a funny feeling that the 802s are actually not big enough. It's not a big enough motor. What spawned me wanting to do this, for the record, is actually this. This Meteor 75 Pro has really blown me away at how good it flies. Out of the box on the GemFan props, it's okay. It comes with GemFan 45mm tri-blades, and they are just a little bit too heavy, and they're a little bit too pitchy. The GemFan 45mm bi-blades, unfortunately, are not quite well balanced enough, so you can't get like a rockin' PID tune with them, but they outperform the tri-blades, that's for sure. HQ just put out ultralight 45mm bi and tri-blade propellers. They are significantly lighter than the GemFan bi and tri-blades, but they're beautifully well balanced. And so those two things together, they're also slightly less pitchy. So those three things together really wake this Meteor 75 Pro up, and this thing flies amazing on the HQ bi-blades and the HQ tri-blades. The other reason why this flies amazing, and the real light bulb that went off a couple of days ago, is that these 1102 motors pair perfectly with these propellers. Our last live stream, I flew this AIO and canopy on, well, I took the motors out by now, but on these 1102 22,000s, same motors that are on the 75 Pro, but on the smaller frame with these 1610 propellers. And it sucked. It didn't suck by most people's standards, but for my impossibly high standards, it sucked. It didn't fly anywhere near as good as this guy, even in the house. And there was a huge weight difference. This setup was like 6 grams lighter. But the motors were too big, 1102. The KV was not high enough, 22,000 KV. And the propellers were not making enough thrust. There's a mismatch there. The 1102 22,000 motor on a 1610 propeller is not the right setup. A 1002 motor at 22,000 kV is a better bet with this propeller. We don't need the bigger motor for this 1610 propeller. Make sense? And that's what made me... I've wanted to do something like this spreadsheet for a long time, but it's really, really, really difficult to do. There are still massive holes in what we're doing here. You can go higher in the KV on this 802 and still it'll work with this propeller. You can go lower, but this is like really, if you want something that flies really, really good, this is where you want to try to stay. And so yeah, that's sort of where this is all coming from. And I've really found that it's super nice to just map this shit out, right? I have this shit all in my head. I talk about this shit all the time, but mapping it out like this is an awesome resource. And when I'm done with this spreadsheet, I'll put a link to it over on the Patreon. Hopefully that's worth 10 cents a day to you. And then you'll have access to this spreadsheet. And next time you're going to do a build, or if you have a build that's just not, you know, that's sort of like underperforming, you can reference this and figure out why. So 802s in the lower KV range, yes, it'll work with a GemFan 1610, but what I'm trying to think about is there another prop? I'm also purposefully leaving out a lot of propellers because a lot of TinyWhoop propellers suck and you should not use them. There are like 7 TinyWhoop propellers that completely outperform all the rest. GemFan 1210 biblade, GemFan 1219S tri-blade, the new HQ ultralight tri-blade. Those are the 1.2 inch props. If you're running any other 1.2 inch prop, it's either nowhere near durable enough, doesn't make enough power, is not well balanced enough, yada, yada, yada. And then there is, for the 1.6 inch props, no, there's 2. For 1.5 millimeter motor shafts, there's the GemFan 1610. For 1 millimeter motor shafts, there's the 1 millimeter version of the GemFan 1610, but there's also now a new HQ ultralight 1.6 inch that I've been running on these VCI motors. That's awesome. And so, but this propeller is less pitchy. So this propeller would not be a good fit. It would not be a good match for these low KV 802s. Picking up what I'm putting down. But this is the only prop that I can really recommend for these, and that's kind of fine. So now as we get higher in KV, 25 to 30,000, now sure, GemFan 1610, but and HQ I'm just going to call it the 1.6 YOLO. I guess I now need to change this to 1.2 YOLO. The actual name of that propeller is a pain in the ass. It's like the ultralight, 1.2 inch ultralight, and the word ultralight is going to be too long, so it's easier just to put YOLO in here. Cool? Yeah, balls. So there you go. As the KV gets higher on the 802s, you can pull in that YOLO prop. And then once we get all the way up to 30,000 KV, you can also drop down to a 1.2 inch prop, but you can also run so GemFan 1208 or 1210 or 1610 and HQ 1.6 YOLO. Why do I keep putting the extra Y in there? Everybody still with me? Making any sense yet? Dry weight. Oh, this is going to be a bitch. Especially because we've got a 1.2 inch prop down here. So if you're going to have low KV like this, you're not going to have much power. So you got to be a nice... Sorry, I touched the mic there, friends. You got to have a nice, lightweight 1.6 inch rig. Kinetic says, are you going to include suggested frame size as well? That happens with the propeller suggestions, right? if there's only 1.2 inch propellers suggested, there you go. And which 1.2 inch frame you run is totally outside of this testing. Because it's about weight. Okay, so weighing 1.6 inch props. So that's 22. So let me just take a guess here. 22 to 27. Hold on. Let me look something up though. Mobula 7 1S. What does this weigh out of the box? Mine are all lightened up, so I want to make sure. Are you really not going to tell me? There we go. 24 grams. 20. Okay, perfect. Okay, so the Mobula 7 1S is 24 grams. Beautiful. That's right in the middle of that range. All right, we're good. So I'm basing. Oops. Sorry, guys. I'm basing the weight off of this. This is a Mobula 7 1S. Or is it? No. Okay. This is a custom build. But so this is a Mobula 6 ELRS. It's got the 2G4 board that's been basically converted, put into a Mobula 7 frame. So this is the lighter weight of the old school Happy Model frames. It's the lightweight camera and canopy setup. These 0703s are pretty lightweight. This is the smallest motor that I would really want to go with. Yeah. And it's coming in at 22.4. So you can get a rig down lighter than this, but you probably don't really need to. So this guy's up at 25. I made that range a little big. I made that range all the way up to 27. I'm gonna cut that down to 25. I'm gonna say 22 to 26. Yeah, you would need to keep this setup light because these motors at these lower KVs are not going to make a ton of power. So yeah, 22 to 26. Keep this setup light. Now, 25,000 kV, 27,000 kV, 30,000 kV. Now, you've got enough RPM for these less pitchy propellers, and you're making a bunch more power. So let's say 23 to 28, because it's really starting to make power now. 802. So the most powerful combo is going to be 802, 30,000 kV on GemFan 1610s. And yeah, 28. Let me weigh the Walksnail 75 just to make sure I want to exclude the Walksnail 75 in this setup here because 802s get too hot. The Walksnail rig is 31.3 grams. Perfect. So, yeah, we are off the end of the scale. I would not recommend an 802 25,000 kV to 30,000 kV with these props for a Walksnail build. Walksnail builds, you got to come down here into 703, 803, 1002, 1102 territory. So that's perfect. That's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to bracket these out so that if you do a Walksnail build and it ends up being 32 grams, you know that this is not the right motor for you. Cool? And nor is this. The 802 is too small for that. So I'm hoping to bracket this. I want to bracket these really carefully. Here's the problem, though. We've got these 1.2 inch props in here. So, but that's okay because we can just take this dry weight and we can say 18. The bottom of the dry weight bracket is way less important than the top. So we're going to say 18 to, what's this Walksnail build weigh again? Oh shit, this is on 1002s. So it's 31.4 grams on 1002s. 31. So I'm going to say 18 to, I'm actually going to do that. And then I'm going to bring this one down a little bit. Let's do that. Let's do that. And then I'm going to take this 22 down to 21. I'm going to take this 23 down to 22. I think that's better. I think that's a little bit better. Since these are all 1.6-inch props, the low end is high because that's what a 75mm build is going to be. Ready? Right? 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 All right. Good. 802s are set. Oh my God. Stop emailing me. All right. Disabled Combat Android says you have builds that weigh 16 grams with a battery. Oh boy, do I wish. Not applicable says live stream live. We got that. Kinetic says, are you gonna? We got that. All right, cool. Have I lost everybody? Are you guys still with me, or have I gone too? There will be a point where I will go too far down the rabbit hole, and I will be just live streaming for the sake of myself. Feel free to let me know when I do that. If I completely lose you guys, it's totally fine to call it out. But you got to let me know because, yeah, this shit makes me excited. 703s, there's only the one motor, right? 0703 FPV motor. Let's see what comes up. Oh shit, no, there's the RC and Powers. Oh, damn you, RC and Power. They only have these two KVs though, right? 27 and 23. All right. All right, well, the VCI 703s are 23,500 kV. So this will be easy. This will be easy. 703, I'm just going to insert one row above, and I'm just going to do 23K, and what's the other one? 27K, right? 23 and 27? Yeah. 23 and 27. Okay, cool. So the VCIs are here. The VCIs are 23 and a half. It's the same thing. HQ 1.6 YOLO. Why do I always type the extra goddamn Y? YOLOI. You only live once, yo. That's why. 703, 23,000, HQ 1.6 YOLO, Gem Fan. Yeah, no, it's the same as this. It's the same as this. Gem Fan 1610. These are all 1mm motor shafts motors. Hold on, let me make sure that these props exist. Yeah. The 1.6 YOLO is only a 1mm propeller. The Gem Fan 1610 you can buy in 1mm. All up weight range 22 to 26. That's about right, because it's in the middle here. The 703s have more stator volume than the 802. So even though 23,000 kV is outside of this bracket of 25 to 30, it's a beefier motor. It's a higher stator volume motor. So it can carry the same weight range. Cool. 703 27,000 kV is super interesting. At some point I'm going to end up snagging a set of those RC and Power motors. Flying Carrot says he's excited for Castle Crash. I am. I gotta find a place to stay, but yeah, that's gonna be a blast. Okay. 27,000 kV. Well, it's just these two propellers. But here's a question: is the 703 motor? Could I make that work on a 1.2 inch build? Probably. 27,000 kV though is a little bit low. It would be super interesting to run these 703 27,000s on the GemFan 1219S. I bet you it would work. But for right now, I'm just going to say HQ 1.6 YOLO. YOLOI! And then the weight bracket range can go up quite a bit. It's going to go up to 28. Oh, shit. What's going to be the low end, though? We'll do 22. Yep, that'll work. 803. We don't have many. We don't have many. We might only have the one that's a high enough KV. These sub 250 night. Oh shit! I forgot. We'll do mailbag tomorrow night. Yeah, these 19,000 kV. This is too low. That's too low of a kV. That is a 2S motor right there. 17,000, too low of a kV. 16,500, too low. That's an 802. That's an 802. That's an 802. 803. Yeah, so the only... Really? Oh. They had a picture of a... They had a picture of a hyperlate motor. I was like, oh, shit. T-motor does have this in 22,000. But wait, isn't this the motor that ran really low KV in Chris's testing? This is a perfect example. Why we're all super lucky to have this testing from Chris. Where are the... Here are the KV values. T-motor 0803. Where are you? T-motor 803, 22,000. The rated KV is 23,000. It actually only turns 15,000. So yeah, no. Those motors don't count. Do not buy those T-motor 803s. That is insane. Also, don't buy the T-motor 802 25,000s. Those are the worst. They're rated at 25,000, but they're only turning like 16,000. That is horrendous. Absolutely brutal. All right, cool. So yeah, these motors don't exist as far as I'm concerned. So the only 803 that's a high enough KV is the VCI, which is perfect. I'm actually going to change this in that case to 0802.6. 802.6, they are 27,000, is it? Let me check. Yep, 27,000 kV. All right, 27K. These motors are ridiculous. They make crazy power. You can probably put I mean, they are a pretty high KV. But so I was about to say you could pretty much put any prop on them, but we don't really have many prop options here. We kind of only have these two. What's interesting though is that these things will pick up a bunch of weight. Let me what's this rig weigh? 24.94, so call it 25 grams. So I'm going to open up. You don't want a super lightweight rig with these motors. They make too much power. So I'm going to say 24. I'm going to say 24 to... I'm going to go all the way up to 32. 24 to... yeah, 24 to 32. Just because they make enough power. If you get the all-up weight up that high, your runtime is going to suck. But still, the rig will fly great. 1002s. We don't have many... We're going to go 1S. TinyWhoop powertrains. 1002. The Flywoo 1002s that say that they're 23,500 kV are not. They're 22,000 kV. So I'm just going to leave this 1002 section at 22,000 kV because that's... I'll open it up to 20. 20K to 22K. Prop selection is going to be exactly the same. Let me think about that for just 1 second. No, it's not, because all of the 1002s have 1.5mm motor shafts, and HQ has not gotten their shit together and given us an ultralight 1.6 with a 1.5mm motor shaft. So unfortunately, there is just this one good prop option for a 1002. Man, that seems so insane, but it's really true. The other propellers are the other prop option. The second best prop option for a 1.6 inch with a 1.5mm motor shaft is the Gemfan 1608. It's a tri-blade. Every single time, and I just ran a set of those 2 days ago, every single time I run those props, I'm disappointed. They're just heavy. They're just really, really heavy. In the last like 6 months, a bunch of ultralight propeller options have come out, and they just kick the shit out of all the rest of the propellers. And if you're running anything other than these ultralight propellers, the difference in the way that the rigs fly is it's you can't ignore it. It's just so crazy. So yeah, I'm only going to suggest this one prop. Sorry, but if you run anything other than this propeller, it's not it. These make significantly less power than these 803s, mainly because they're a much lower KV, so they can't lift this much weight. I'm going to say 22 to 28. Let's see what this guy weighs that has 1002s on it. 27.53, perfect. 28, 27.53, perfect. We'll fly this in a minute, and you'll get to see what this flies like. I think I have it all bound up and ready to go. And then 1102s are the Meteor 75 Pro motors. And so HQ 45mm by 2 or 3. 2 blade or 3 blade. HQ 45mm by 2/3. And then the all-up weight here is the high end of it is going to be 32. Damn. Oops. So the high end is going to be 32. The low end, I'm going to say, and I'm going to actually play around with this. I have a my black 75 Pro frame that I put my set of 1102 22,000s on. I'm going to take the lightweight camera canopy AIO and drop it into this and see what this setup flies like. Lighter weight. Heavyweight, 32 grams, it flies awesome. If I can get this down to like 28 grams, that could be ridiculous. So maybe that's what we make the range. 28 to 32. 28. It's a little bit of a shallow range, but that's a big-ass motor. Let's go 26. 26 to 32. There you go, friends. You want to build a TinyWhoop that flies awesome? This is how you do it. This is how you do it. You stay within these ranges. You choose these motors. You look at these dry weights, and then you choose a motor that fits within that dry weight, and you choose a KV that fits within that dry weight, and then you can see if you want. It's just, hopefully this is super obvious. If you want more power, you go here. Less power, you go here. More power, less power. But you can cross-reference these dry weight windows that these things can carry, right? Although what you would, oh yeah, okay, so if you were to come in here and be like, oh, I want to build a 65 millimeter whoop, but with 802s, you can't. But I want to do low KV motors. Look, you can't. I've told you that you can't do that. An 802, 19 to 25,000 KV does not work with anything smaller than this. But look down here. an 802 at 33,000 kV will work with a Gemfan 1208 or 1210, or a 1610 or the HQ 1.6 inch ultralight. What do you think of that? That's pretty cool. I was wondering how I did not have a plan as to how to get around that. I got lucky that just kind of fell into place there. I had a feeling that if I put enough columns in, that I would be able to guide you guys like this. Cool. Woo! Okay. Let's do a little bit of flying, but let me get caught up on chat first. And I'm going to fly some rigs that fall towards the top side of these dry weights and the bottom side of these dry weights, so that and I'll talk through it. Walter says, talking into cyberspace. Fair enough. Northern Tier says, at least I know what to do with my 703s now. Do you have the VCIs? Which 703s do you have, Northern Tier? Walter says, that's when people say we stink and need a shave. I have no idea what that's in reference to. Cactus says, this is actually something that is really helpful, just getting into whoops from 5-inch. Very cool. Love that. Flying Carrot also says, oh, do we got that? Dano1964 says, 40,000 kV switch done. These things are so fun to fly. I may crash a lot getting used to them, but wow, fun. They're nuts, right? Flying Carrot says, think I might make it down and hang out with Shelby and the crew, meet some of the community. Very cool. Yeah, Castle Crash is going to be insane. All FPV events are insane. All right, good. Caught up on chat. Let's do a little bit of flying, and then we'll wrap up for the day. Link to this will be in Patreon. You got to give me $3 whole to get access to this. I'm going to go into share and open it up to anyone with the link and let you guys comment if you'd like. Done. And copy the link. There we go. And then Patreon. Cool. So that's going to be, I want to make a link post. There's the link. There it is. Bing, bang, boom. What tag should I use for this? I'll figure that out afterwards. All right. So I'm sure that there's something missing from that. Hey, this is also based around this, taking a look at the different stator volumes of 702 versus 802 versus 703. And the reason that I ordered those motors the way that I did, because that's how the stator volumes go, from smallest to biggest. And the stator volume is the main thing that changes the amount of power. Fuck the word torque. Take the word torque out of your brain. These are not gasoline engines. These are electric motors. And your understanding of torque from gasoline engines does not really apply to electric motors. Electric motors, you send them an amount of voltage and they make power. There is a little bit of nuance there, but nothing like the nuance that we get in gasoline engines. So, yeah, the volume of the stator is very closely related to the amount of work, the amount of power that motor is going to be able to do. The main nuance here is the ratio of motor width to motor height, and all you really need to understand there is that the motor height will do additional motor height will do more work than additional motor width, but additional motor width keeps the motor cooler than additional motor height. So this ratio of height to width is really important. And when we're trying to min-max that, we're trying to get the tallest motor possible that is also wide enough to stay cool. And that is like the super, super, super nuanced part of motor sizing. 2306s versus 2207s are a beautiful example of this. 2207 is taller and it makes more thrust, but it runs hotter. 2306 makes less power. Even though it's wider, it's not as tall. And the extra height does more work than the extra width. So a 2306 will make less power, but it will stay cooler and it will be more consistent. And that goes up and down. That applies to TinyWhoop motors. It applies to 5-inch motors. It applies to goddamn Cinelifter motors. It's super important to understand that, because it also has to do with your flight style. If you fly really fast all the time, you're always at like 60% throttle. You're going to be putting a lot of heat into the motor. So a wider motor might make more sense for you if you want the consistency. If you want the rig to be a little bit lighter weight for the amount of power that it makes, then a 2207 would actually be what you want. So there's a couple crossroads that are kind of happening here. What's more important to you? Better power to weight ratio or better consistency? Is one of the main ones. Better power to weight ratio, you want a taller motor. Better consistency, you want a wider motor so that it stays as cool as possible. When motors heat up, the magnets don't work as well. They lose a lot of power. They lose a lot of efficiency. And so, yeah, like I said, a bunch of different crossroads all kind of meeting at the central point. Cool? But this should help you guys out quite a bit, because this is like all the really hot combos that I've found. Time to fly! We're going old school, because the old school goggles don't absolutely decimate goggle batteries like the HC0 goggles do. Somebody hit me with it. That's what she said. I love it. I love it. First up, we are going to fly this little wacky build that I kind of threw together. This is basically a old school Meteor 75, Betaflight Meteor 75, canopy, camera, VTX, AIO, and frame, actually, that I've then swapped over to FlyWoo 1002 23,500s. They're actually 22,000s. They fly like 22,000s. And you know what we can do? We can even spin them up in Betaflight, and I can show you. Because I think on the other spreadsheet, I've got the other 1002s. I do indeed. The RC Power 1002s. Let's do it, because I have the same props on here. Let me fire up the adjustable power supply real quick here, and we will add a motor to our TinyWhoop RPM testing spreadsheet that we'd previously worked on. Here it is. So we are going to insert one row above, and this is going to be FlyWoo 1002 23.5K. Let me do this real quick. Copy, because this will bring over the formulas that Kevin Sumner very kindly added. But I want to get rid of the RPMs. There we go. Okay. Power supply is set. It's at 4 volts. That's what it was before. Let's get this plugged in here. No, hold on. Let's get USB plugged in first, and then we'll fly. We'll fly as soon as we're done with this. But I want to show you guys that these FlyWoo motors, and I want to prove to myself that these FlyWoo motors really do make the exact same RPM as the RC Power 22,000s. I think... Oh. I'm gonna remove a... I'm gonna remove a propeller so that we can spin these with no prop on them as well. And then we can... That'll hopefully really tell the tale here versus the RC Power. I'm actually super interested. I've not done this. I've only spun these up with the props on and flown them and felt that they're exactly the same as the RC Powers. So here we go. Motor 1 has no prop on it. So I'm going to go up to 50%. We're going to read the RPM. Hold on. You guys can read it with me now. Ready? Page up 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 39,000. Just barely touching 40. 39 to 40,000. 39 to 40. All right. Let's see where that's at. 39 to 40. Hey, look at that. A little bit more. Okay, I was wrong. Let's do this. We're going to cut that row, and I'm going to insert it below. There we go. Wait, what? That's not what I wanted. Come on now. Cut. Insert below. What? Why? I'm not pasting below. I need to paste special. Oh no, insert. Wait, no. Insert's not it. What the hell? Insert one row below. Paste. There we go. Kill. Die. Get out of there. Cut. Great. No. Remove it. Clear row. There we go. No. Remove the row. Delete row. Woo! We're going to say 39,000. And now we are going to spin it up with a prop on it, which is going to be motor 2. And we're going to do this to full. Here we go. Whoa, boy. ESC reset. I wanged it up a little too quick. There we go. 49. We're going to spin the other 3 up. Oh, shit. I wanged it up too quick. 49. 49. Retest this one. 49. There we go. So we come over here. Wait, what? Oh. No. Here we go. Wow. Okay. Let's talk about this. I'm going to put a 1210 on here. No, I'm not. What did I do with the 1210s that I drilled out? Shit, I put them on here. Hold on. We're going to talk about this. This is super interesting stuff right here. Oh, boy. Okay. Super interesting thing just happened there. As you can see, as you might be able to see, that just turned a lower RPM than the lower KV RC and power 1002. Why is that? How's that possible? Chat. Someone that's been paying attention, tell me how that's possible. Jesus. These props don't want to come off. Hold on, I'm trying to get one of these. I drilled out a set of these 1210s to 1.5. Here we go. Tell me how that's possible, smart people in chat. All right, there's a 1210. Let's spin that up. See what kind of RPM that turns. Motor 2 is a 1210. 60,000. That's to be expected. Yeah. 60,000. Okay. So we're going to look at these two lines right here. That is super cool that just happened. Kinetic says they lie. Nope. That's a good. I know what you're getting at there, but that's not it. That is not it. Not it. Weebleed says, why at 4 volt? Maybe 3.5 thoughts, even 2.8. I would like to see this test based on different voltage ranges. I chose 4 volts because when you start flying a battery, it sags down to 4.2 pretty quickly, and then it slowly goes 4.1, 4.0, 3.9, 3.8. And so to me, 4 volts is high enough that we're saying like, hey, this is a pretty fully charged battery, but it's low enough that it's not unrealistic. To do all of this testing at 4.35 volts makes no sense because none of the batteries can do that, right? To do this testing at 4.2 volts, it's like, yeah, all right, the first time you hammer the throttle, sure, this is what you're going to see. But then, like, the second time you hammer the throttle, it's not going to hang on to 4.2. I think 4 volts is the best middle ground where, like, the majority of your battery, or at least like the first minute, let's say, of your battery, you're going to be roughly sagging down to 4 volts. And then what I do notice on the bigger motors and the more aggressive props is it actually sags the adjustable power supply down to 3.9. I've even seen it sag it down to 3.8, and I really like that, because that's now not only giving you that experience of the first minute of your flight, but like the first 2 minutes of your flight. So yeah, I think it's a really good number. I don't foresee much of this changing at different voltages, and the amount of time that it took me to do this I'm not willing to do it. Somebody else can do that. I've shown the test methodology here. I'm not using any fancy gear other than the Toolkit P200 adjustable power supply. And I explained in the previous video where we did the actual spreadsheet, I explained how you could actually do this with just batteries. So yeah, we're using Betaflight, where you can use batteries. And you're gonna have to have a shitload of different motors and props and whatnot, but still, you can buy like one of each of these motors for probably less than $100, and you guys could do this testing if you really wanted to. But to be honest, I don't think voltage is gonna have a drastic effect, because I picked the voltage in the middle. If I'd been doing this test at 4.35, I think it would be totally worth it to redo all of this testing at 3.8. But yeah, I think I'm in the middle, and it's, yeah. As the voltage goes up, these numbers are all going to go up. As the voltage goes down, these numbers are going to go down. Is there a chance that, like, as the voltage goes down, some of these motors that are sort of on the edge, like, really start to lose efficiency? Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. I don't know about that. I think the way that I did this is pretty dead on the money. And the results that I've seen here have been dead on the money, and from what the flight experiences have been that I've had. So, all right, so what the hell happened? How the hell did the RC Power 1002, which is only 22,000 kV, which we're confirming is a lower kV right here, with an unloaded, this is no propeller on, and that's how kV is tested. So the RC Power 22,000 kV is only turning 38,000 kV at 50% RPM, whereas the Flywoo 1002 23,500 is turning higher, right? 23,000 is higher than 22,000, so it makes sense. But then when we put a 1.2-inch prop on, they turn the exact same RPM. That's a little bit weird. What's even weirder is when you put a more draggy propeller on, a Gemfan 1610, now the RC Power is actually able to turn up to a higher RPM. RC Power has either optimized the thickness of the copper winding material. So there is either more copper on the stator poles, which would make more power and which would do exactly this. This right here, the unloaded, no prop on numbers, this means that RC Power and Flywoo are winding, the number of winds per stator pole are correct for the KV. The 22,000 kV is turning lower RPM than the 23,500. So the way that these two companies have wound the stator is somewhat correct from this right here. But then once it comes down to making actual power, things have changed a little bit. And so either the RC Power copper is thicker, or the RC Power has stronger magnets, or it has curved magnets, and the Flywoo motors have flat magnets. You'd think I'd be able to see that, but man, that is hard to tell. Hold on, let me look. Or the air gap is tighter on the RC Power motor. The Flywoo magnets are flat. The RC Power magnets are also flat. I can kind of see the air gap here. Let's see if there's a difference in the air gap. Huh. The air gap actually looks tighter on the Flywoo. which is counterintuitive. Or the flux ring on the RC and power motors is better. The flux ring is what keeps the magnetism inside the motor. So we don't know. We don't know why the RC and power motor is able to turn a higher KV, turn a higher RPM with a draggy propeller on it. But it doesn't really matter why. We know that it does now. We know that the RC and power 10, and this is kind of the experience that I've gotten flying both of these motors. Yeah. So something else that's kind of interesting here is that the FlyWoo motors, this is actually super cool. The FlyWoo motors will turn, they have the potential to go faster. If you put the nose down on this thing and just leave it at full throttle, and it is now generating a bunch of incoming thrust, that makes the FlyWoo motor's job easier. And with no propeller on, the FlyWoo motor will spin up to a higher RPM. So there is a chance, there, even with all that incoming air, it's not the same as not having a propeller on it, right? Obviously. But still, there is actually a chance that the FlyWoo motors will go 28 miles an hour and the RC and power motors will only go 27. I'll bet you that's not the case, because the motors that make more power are probably going to be able to just mash through additional air and give a little bit of extra wind speed. But like, if we had a drastic example, like if we were looking at like 40,000 kV motors versus 30,000, that could be a thing. You could make the argument that like the 40,000 kV motors will go in a straight line faster, but the lower kV motors that, like in this example that I'm making up in my head, let's say the lower kV motors make the same power with the propeller on, they turn the same RPM. You could say that at the bottom of dives, the lower kV motor is going to do a better job, because that's like a more static kind of test. Whereas unloaded, full speed testing, that higher kV motor is going to rip, and it's going to make a big difference. I've not found that much specificity here yet. Like, it just so far feels like the higher kV motors just make more power all the time, which kind of makes sense. But yeah, another motor on our chart, yo. FlyWoo 1002, 23,500s. This is going to fly like shit. I'm telling you right now. This is going to fly bad. Watch this. I can just tell from having tested a lot of this stuff and looking at these numbers that this rig on these FlyWoo motors is not going to be nearly as good as some of these other combinations that we've found. And if we were to look at the spreadsheet that we just did, well, we will. We'll look at the spreadsheet we just did today, and I'll show you. I'll show you how you can tell from that spreadsheet how good it's going to fly. Yeah. Yeah, because we can look at the dry weight range. I know I'm a little bit behind on chat, but just bear with me here. All ready? Oh yeah, it flies like shit. So there's a huge delay in the response time is just garbage. Watch on the right side of the screen. Watch the throttle position, right? 45 right now. That's the throttle position. Watch when I go up to full throttle. Watch how slowly the quad responds. And you can also hear it. That is a big delay. I know it doesn't look like a big delay, but in flying it, that's a big delay. You can still rip. And you see that prop wash? That prop wash, this is a really aggressive tune. Look how angry this tune is. Fucking 2.0 on the D-gain slider, 1.7 on the P&I slider, and then the master multiplier is cranked all the way up to 1.4. What the hell? How is it possible that the PID gains are so high and we've still got prop wash? It's because we have a mechanical mismatch. The motors, propellers, all up weight are not the best match from some of the rigs that we've been building lately. And the mechanical tuning is much more important, oops, than the digital tuning. Hello, family! I love you all, but I love Teddy the most of all. That's not true. I love Maggie more than Teddy. Wow, he doesn't care about it at all right now. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. There he goes. Oh god, I was gonna try to do a really shallow stairway dive, but I mean, I can just smash it into the ground and accomplish the same thing. I would not have made that. So yeah. Oh, come on now. Come on now. There we go. Yeah, totally flyable, but hard to fly. Uh-oh. Somebody's angry. It's this quad. All right, so how can we tell from looking at the spreadsheet that I just did that this thing is going to fly like ass? Is the question. And my for the record, when I say fly like ass, that's fly like ass by unreasonably high standards. Most people would be okay with this thing. But look, man, build a rig that flies really good. Like, there's no reason not to. All right, so here you go. Check this out. You guys can do this. You guys can do this with all your rigs. You can see where your rigs stack up on the impossibly high standards CiottiFPV scale. So we've got a rig with 1002 motors, 23,500 kV. Dry weight on this build is 27.5 grams. There's the problem. We're too close to this. It still flies. I can still do cool shit, but we are right on top of the top end of the dry weight brackets here. GemFan 1610, 20 to 22,000. I mean, I guess we can open this up to 20. No, whatever. Yeah, I guess I will. 23.5. So yeah, there you go. It's too heavy. We've got everything else good. We've got the motor size. We've got the KV in the range. We've got the right propeller, but the dry weight is a little bit too high, and it just kills it. It just kills the flight performance of this thing because of that all up weight. Now, let's look at... Ooh, this is going to be perfect. I did not plan this. Now we're going to look at a rig with 703s, 23,000 kV, HQ 1.6 YOLO props that is towards the bottom of the dry weight bracket. This rig that we're about to fly is, I think it's 23 point something grams. No, 22. 22.4 grams. All right. So now we're going to fly something at the low end of the bracket. And hopefully you guys will be able to see the difference or hear the difference. Listen again. Look for me to go to 100% throttle. And then listen to how quick the motors spin up. And then just like take notice of how the quad kind of jumps up in the air, basically. And, you know, I don't have a reason to lie. I'm going to tell you what the deal is as I'm flying it. That's the other module. Of course. Come on. Ram Douglas says, which slider is set to 0? Is it the third or fourth one down? Shouldn't be any of them. There shouldn't be any set to 0. If there was one, though, it would be feed forward. All right, ready? I mean, you can already kind of tell. Look at the yaw performance. See how much more crisp the yaw performance is? But before the battery discharges too much. Ready? So 41, 42, that's the throttle. Ready? Watch and listen. See how much quicker it winds up? And then you can, again, you can really see it in the yaw performance. And now, Jesus Christ. This is a smaller stator. So it doesn't have, it actually doesn't have as much like raw power, but the response time is so much better that it's like way more flyable. That is also coming from the lighter weight propellers. This is on the HQ Ultralight 1.6s because these are 1mm motor shaft motors. But still, it's really all up weight related, and so that it's also going to have more float because of this. But you know, I am definitely noticing less raw power, and we can look at that on the motor RPM spreadsheet in a minute. Let's see what the 1002 motors make. I bet you the 1002s spin to a higher RPM with the 1.6-inch props versus these 703s. 1002 is a significantly bigger stator, is significantly more stator volume. There is no better dog. Oh, shit. Yeah, so it's definitely, these are less grunty. These are definitely less grunty motors. But I like the way that this rig flies better because of the response time. The response time is quicker, which makes flying around in the house a lot easier. This is more of a house-ready 75mm rig. The one I just flew is more for outdoor stuff. This has better response time and less horsepower. So all these little tiny movements you need to make in the house are going to be better. But outside, where you're going to want to cover more ground, you would want the gruntier motor. Hey! Leave me alone. Let me fly, world. I haven't done this in a while. I haven't done this in a while. Ah! I'm rusty. I'm rusty with them Matty flip dives. There we go. We got out of there. Hit the ground, but... There we go. That was a little bit better. Still pretty good runtime on either one. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at the motor RPM spreadsheet. So... I hope this backs up what I'm saying. Let's take a quick look. Is that unplugged? Yep, that's good. So we are going to compare the 0703 23,500 kV to the Flywoo. And we can see that even though... Oh, so this is a really cool comparison. This is a really cool comparison, actually. So these are both 23,000... Both of these motors say on the can 23,500 kV. But look at this shit. Look at the drastic difference in the actual kV that we're seeing in Betaflight. The VCI 0703s are coming much closer to the actual rated kV. The Flywoos are like way off. 46,000 RPM at 50% throttle with no prop versus 39. That is crazy. But look at this. Look at this shit. We go over to, we put a propeller on it, and we put a 1210 biblade, 1.2-inch biblade on it. And look, the VCI motor outperforms it. That's to be expected. It's a higher RPM, right? But it's a smaller volume, a smaller stator, right? But it doesn't matter. It's turning that higher RPM, so it's able to do 64,000 instead of 60,000. But look at this, yo. Once we put a more draggy propeller on it, boy, does that change. And we've got just this 500 kV is within like the error range. So this should probably just be 49,000. But look at that. 49,500, 49,000. In the air, it actually feels like the 1002s have a little bit more grunt. You know, it doesn't specifically show up here on this spreadsheet, but it could have been, you know, I flew 2 different batteries. Maybe the second battery that I flew was more saggy than the first. But, right, the response time, big difference. And the all-up weight, big difference. Oh, the all-up weight. No, wait. Yeah, man, the 1002 rig should have felt less responsive and less powerful because it's heavier. The power to weight ratio is worse, but it is a more grunty motor. And I did fly 2 different batteries. Oh, and the propellers are different too. No, they're not. No, they're not. Well, yeah, no, just, yeah. When I was flying just now, yeah, okay, this makes sense. When I was flying just now, the 1002s were on the more pitchy, more thrusty Gemfan 1610 propeller. The 0703 rig was on the lighter weight HQ props that make less thrust. So this was making more thrust because of the propellers. This was making less thrust but had better response time. These 703 motors are a better match for these ultralight props. These 1002 propellers are a better match for these, these 1610 propellers are a better match for these 1002 motors. Make sense? That was a cool little test there. I didn't expect to do that. That's rad. We can also test 802 33,000 kV motors on a 65mm rig. If I have one of those batteries, I do. I'm not sure that these motors are going to turn the right direction. I don't know if I put this into Betaflight to fix these yet. Let's see real quick. Wait a second. No. Now we're going to fly the Meteor 75 Pro. We'll get to 65s in a minute. But now I want to show you when you get those numbers sort of in the middle. And you get into the middle or towards the low end of the all-up weight scale. And I'm actually going to make a little change here. I'm going to make a little bit of a change. 703 22,000s. I'm going to drop this down to 20. I'm gonna drop this down to 24, just from the way that just flew. Yeah, that's gonna be a little bit closer to like reality, getting you a rig that flies really, really good. Come on, get in there. All right, Meteor 75 Pro, antenna swap and a propeller swap. These are the HQ ultralight 45mm biblades. Check this out. And then we'll put this on the we'll look at this on the sheet afterwards. Here we go. Same test. Look at the throttle. Listen to the spin up. Watch the thing jump up in the air. Quicker, right? These 1102 motors are have really good response time on these 45mm lightweight props. These props are bigger, so they make more thrust, but then they're ultralight, so they have great response time. So we'll go upstairs. This is a significantly worse VTX, so that sucks, but it's all right. Great pull-out game. Woo! Shit. Yeah, much more power than those other 2 rigs, but still, the response time is still really, really good. And so that's what makes it very flyable in the house here. Unbelievable that a rig this heavy is this maneuverable. You just got to be really careful, because if I hit something with this, it's going to hit it hard. Shit! I can't get over how good this thing flies. I am so shocked at how good this flies with these propellers on it. And I think I have gone back and forth between the bi and the tri-blade 45s now a few times, and I really do think I like the bi blades. They make a little bit less power, but man, the response time is so good. You can kind of see how the run times are affected too. This is a heavier rig, so of course it's going to have less run time. That's just sort of the name of the game. You know, you can offset that by going to a higher MAH, heavier battery, or just suck it up and get 2-minute and 30-second run times. As long as your run times are above 2 minutes, you're not really hammering on the batteries too bad. So yeah. There you go, friends. And so now, where does this thing stack up? It's on 1102s, 22,000 kV, HQ 45mm by 2s. And so the dry weight range is 26 to 32. Let's see where it is. I actually don't remember. It's at 31.3. So I'm going to actually adjust this a little bit. I'm going to push this up to 34. And I'm going to push this 26 up to 28, because this thing flies really good, so I want it like somewhere in the middle of this range, and it's at 32. So yeah, that's a little bit high on the range, but if you could get this, I mean, I'm gonna do a lighter weight version of this very soon, and then we'll see how that flies. But this thing flies absolutely awesome as it is. So there you go. There is how some of these guys stack up within the spreadsheet that we just kind of did. Hopefully I didn't lose you guys. I know we're lately I'm going down the rabbit hole a little bit farther. But even if you're not picking up everything that I'm laying down, we'll talk about it again and you'll pick up a little bit more. We'll talk about it again, you'll pick up a little bit more. Before you know it, you'll be like, "Oh yeah, I get this. I get how all this stuff." It's in FPV. There's like it's just like fucking spaghetti. It's just all these spaghetti noodles, and they're all intersecting and they're all wound out. And if you learn enough, you can start to take those noodles and spread them out like this, and then you can figure out kind of what the hell's going on. But it takes a while, so be patient. Stick around, be patient, keep listening. Keep asking questions, and you'll get it. You'll get it. You'll know just as much as me before you know it. Weebleed says, "Fair enough. I bring this up based on all motor manufacturers' tests at different voltages, which can alter the test results." Yeah, it's super annoying. There's no standardization, but it's the world we're in. Porto says, with Rosser's recommending 96 kilohertz, is that still a sound choice for higher kV motors? No. 96 kilohertz. This is a perfect example of bench testing not representing actual flight characteristics. Perfect example. 96K performs amazing on the bench. And then you fly it, and it flies kind of like shit. If you're actually flying. If you're just doing full throttle runs up to the tops of the trees, sure, 96K. If you move the roll and pitch stick around, 48K. Because 96K, you lose a lot of the braking. And what happens when you lose the braking? Like on a 5-inch rig, if you've ever noticed, on a 5-inch rig, when you roll, it rolls like this. It rolls like on its own center axis. As rigs get smaller, when you roll, they tend to do this. And what's happening there is that they can't break these two motors down enough to do a roll like this. In order to do a roll on your own axis like this, you have to break these down pretty much the same amount that you that you accelerate these two motors, right? That's the only way to roll like that. And so as you lose more and more braking, your rolls become more like this. And I know that doesn't seem like a terrible thing until you try to drop down a dive gap. And you line that dive gap up perfectly, and then you go awesome, and you blip the throttle, and you roll, and you completely miss the gap because the roll has taken you up and over here. So in order to adapt to that, instead of setting the gap up here, you have to like, oh, well, I guess I'll kind of point it a little bit to the left, but not too much, but just a little bit. Is that too little? A little bit too much? Let's try it. And then you send it over here, and then you do it, and it overshoots it. And next time, oh, okay, now I'll send it over here. All right, send it over here. And, oh, there we go, perfect. Okay, so in this particular scenario, I have to aim for 1.5 windows over. That's not good. That's not good. If you want to fly accurately and technically, this whole, like, oh, put a Band-Aid on it and just offset it, like, that's a nightmare. That's a total nightmare. And that's one of the biggest things that 96K does. You can see it line of sight. Put a rig onto 96, take it out, line of sight, do a bunch of rolls. You'll see it. It does this when you do rolls on 96. Now go all the way down to 24, just so that you can see the most possible difference. And on 24, it'll do a much tighter roll because it'll have a bunch of extra braking. And then 48 is in the middle. And that's why everybody that like actually flies these things hard runs 48, because the extra braking performance really does make a big difference. And again, perfect example of where bench testing completely falls apart. And yeah, I admittedly, I get a little bit frustrated when the bench testing is done without any conversation about actual flight characteristics. And so, yeah, and that's one of the things that I really took the time to dump into a bunch of those messages that I sent to Chris. And so that's yeah, so I'm kind of annoyed that it appears that he didn't read them, but maybe he did. Maybe he did. And maybe in the part 2 video, he will dive into all that good stuff. Great question, Porto. I don't know why I pronounced it so properly. Antisocial FPV says, bought this newbie drone Acroby 65 with TBS every time I arm it first time. VTX and camera goes black, replug battery and everything goes okay. You guys got any ideas why? I had one that did the same thing. Eventually, the VTX and camera just never came on. And I don't know what it is, but newbie drone, the Acrobys and the Hummingbirds, they have an awful hard time with the VTXs being durable and reliable. And so, yeah, just keep flying it, and at some point it'll completely shit the bed, and then you can move on to something else. There's nothing in Betaflight that would affect you putting voltage to it once and the taking voltage away and then putting voltage to it again. You know what I mean? Like, it's a physical component that for whatever reason needs to warm up, I guess, a little bit for it to start working. And eventually it will just stop working altogether. So yeah, keep rocking it. Don't fly it anywhere that you don't want to lose it. Although it kind of doesn't matter. No, it does matter, because it's the AIO that's failing. The motors are perfectly good. The frame is perfectly good. The camera is perfectly good. So yeah, don't fly it in unrecoverable spots, because at some point here you're going to lose video entirely, and that AIO is going to be junk. Kinetic says, could you swap the bells around and test, or they do not, or do they not fit each other? There's no way to know that other than to do it. Typically, it wouldn't work. Typically, from one motor manufacturer to the other, they're going to use slightly different measurements on like the height of the stator and like where the bushings sit and shit like that. So chances are it wouldn't work. If it does work, so now we're talking about the RC and Power 1002 22,000s and the Flywoo 1002 23,500s. If it does work, then we've got a slightly better motor, but it's like an $80 set of motors, right? You get one set of motors that really sucks, and one set of motors that's really good. This is an $80 set of TinyWhoop motors. I hesitate to do that. Maybe if I get bored enough, I'll test it, but I'm not gonna sign you guys up for that. Ramdongo says because it wouldn't make it drastically better. You know what I mean? If like with the 0802s, I've done it because I've been able to take 33,000 kV stators and put a bell on there that we were a 1.5 millimeter motor shaft bell that we've only been able to get 27,000 kV out of. So that's like a big enough difference that I'm willing to do it. But yeah, in this case with these 1002s, yeah, chances are it wouldn't work. Ramdongo says, no, we got that. Elias says, I want to build a freestyle Walksnail whoop for in and outdoors. Me too. I've been trying for about a year. If I want to fly both, should I go with 65 or 75? What part do you recommend, especially the flight controller motors? Elias, I don't have the answer for you because I have not found it myself. And quite honestly, I don't think that it exists. You're asking for too much, and so am I. 65 is for inside, 75 is for outside. In the analog world, you can blur the lines a little bit, but still, even in the analog world, 65 is for inside, 75 is for outside. If you have to choose one or the other, a 65 millimeter rig is going to be better inside and does work outside, but gets pushed around by the wind a little bit more. A 75 millimeter rig is going to be better outside, but then inside it's going to break your shit. So if you have stuff in where you live that's breakable, and if you maybe live with people that will stab you if you break their shit with your toy helicopter, you know what you need to do. Yeah, there is no such thing. And if once Walksnail is involved, now for the 75 millimeter rig, you really want to go 2S, which is a whole different kind of thing. The 1S 75 millimeter Walksnail rigs are really not all that great. There aren't any motors, and or 1S might just not be enough voltage for that much for proper freestyle. So there you go. I've done probably 20 to 30 live streams on these topics, so you can really learn absolutely everything there is to know about it. Easiest way to do that would be to come here to my channel and then use this tiny little magnifying glass that's here. This will allow you to search only my channel. So if you search for Walksnail 65, you're going to turn up a whole bunch of live streams where I test lots of different motors and props and frames and all kinds of stuff. And then if you search for Walksnail 75, you'll come up with a whole bunch of streams where I've tested a ton of different stuff. 1S, 2S, 1002s, 1102s, 802s, lots and lots and lots of stuff. All of these live streams are time-stamped, so you can come on in here, scroll down, and you've got the timestamps right in here. You've also got the timestamps in the description, and you've got really nice timestamps here in Apache Smoke Wounded Sniper's comment with even more. And you can come in here and you can like do a Control or Command F and search for like NBD for Newbie Drone or like 1002, and it'll actually search in here. Let me pick something that'll actually work. Yeah, AIO. So you search for AIO and it's going to show you all of the instances of AIO here. And there you go. Apache Smoke typed AIO twice. And so that's how you look through these live streams and find stuff quickly. But, you know, when you're working, when you're building, throw these live streams on in the background and just let them run. You're going to learn a lot. Northern Tier says, I'm flying the Pro with 1102s with Walksnail on tri-blades. Which tri-blades? Had Jello with the 45mm bi-blades, both Gem Fan. May have to try the HQs. Yeah, the HQs are better balanced. I had the same experience. Northern Tier says, you asked earlier, I was referring to the REC Power 703 27,000s. I forget what the previous comment was. At least I know what to do with my 703s now, he said. Got it. Yep, there you go. Porto says, I don't know why I keep pronouncing it so properly. It's Porto. Thanks for the breakdown. I had a feeling that was the case. Awesome. Soggy, with the last comment of the live stream, he says, how much flight time do you think LEDs use? Are they worth having? Not much. Are they worth having? I don't know. I don't see them when I'm flying, right? Like, when I'm flying through this camera, I can't see the rest of the quad, so the LEDs don't help me at all. I don't know, if there's someone else that you're flying around that would think that the LEDs look cool, and if that matters to you, then yeah, they might be worth having. The LED thing is always so annoying, because it's like, I know this thing looks cool flying through the air, but I'll never get to see it. So, yeah, I don't know. You can also think of the LEDs from like a safety perspective. If it would make sense for people to see you easier, that's a reason to run them. Or if you keep losing the damn thing, like if you're flying it in tall grass, for example, LEDs would be great. It would make it easier to see the damn thing. So there are reasons that LEDs are there, but you'll never get to see them. So like the cool factor, you'll never get to appreciate. Everybody else will, though. Thanks for hanging, friends. This spreadsheet will be available over on Patreon. I just got to finish this post, and I'll put it up there. So head on over to CiottiFPV.com and support me. It'll only cost you $3 whole to join the Patreon. You know, if you look at this spreadsheet and you decide that the 703 23,000s were not the right motor, I just saved you $40. That's like a year's worth of Patreon. You know, maybe hook a brother up and do 6 months or something like that, as a thank you for saving you from buying motors that would underperform. Or not, or just keep hanging out, click the thumbs up, subscribe, do all that shit that YouTube likes, and I'm perfectly happy. But, you know, think about it. CiottiFPV.com, ton of different ways to support me. Patreon's the best. Buy something from my Etsy store, buy a t-shirt, work one-on-one with me on Fiverr, hit a bunch of affiliate links. There you go. We'll keep hanging out. Love you guys. Bye. Not ready. I'll see you guys tomorrow night at 10. And here's some more flying inside the house. Same rig as the, maybe, beginning of the stream. Which rig is this? Come on. You can do this. You can do this. So, flew a bunch of different rigs. Which one's this? Come on, past me. Say with your mouth what build it is. Nope, I did not. Okay, I'm going to play the same flight footage from the beginning of the live stream, because that is a very similar build to what we flew tonight and talked about tonight, but on 0802 30,000 kV motors. So now on this live stream, you will have seen Meteor 75 Pro indoor footage, 0703 Mobula 7 1S, and 1002 23,500 Meteor 75. So heavy 1002 23,500, light 1002 23,500, light 0703 23,000, heavy 1102 22,000, and now light, basically this build, lightweight 0802 30,000 on GemFan 1610s. Cool. Oh, that's not the right thing. That's not the right file. That's not the right file either. That's the right file. Here you go, friends. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you enjoyed. Love you guys. Be good. Am I still out of focus? That's better. All right, guys. I'll see you tomorrow night. Bye 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 bye.
Bye.